Uh, all right, so we'll get started. Are you all able to hear me? Can somebody reply on the group? Just want a confirmation that you all can hear me. Can you all hear me? Super. Yeah. So, good morning. Good morning to you all. Thanks for joining this session. And yeah, so if there's one thing that will help you organize your thoughts better, get more creative, remember things better or solve easily, right? I think mind mapping is a technique that you should know. And so I'm Sirisha, and I thought I'd use a mind map to talk about who I am, to give you a brief intro. So I graduated from IIM Ahmedabad, batch of 2004. Did my fellowship in leadership and management from Carnegie Mellon as part of the Fulbright scholarship I received from Government of India. I'm a design thinking certified practitioner from Stanford, mind mapping instructor, master trainer, and uh, did a lot of work on the corporate front in terms of business development, consulting, project program management in Cognizant, and spent last 4 or 5 years in actually coming up with innovative ways of teaching and training. Training has been a passion, been teaching in these schools, and so I tried figuring out newer and better ways of training. And so that's how I received, a few months back, I received the uh, a global award as an emerging training leader. So that's about me. What we plan to do for the next 40 minutes, we'll go through what is mind mapping and understand the basics of mind mapping. See, it's not rocket science. I think most of you, while you won't be using this word mind mapping, intuitively we all tend to use that. So we'll talk about what is mind mapping, how do you create mind maps. We'll look at a few mind maps. And I also want to spend a few minutes talking about the science behind mind mapping, because we are all MBAs, right? We need a why. The constant question we have is, okay, why? And why do we want to do this? So I'll also talk a little bit about how our brain works and why mind mapping is as effective as it's told to be. Then I'll also talk about how to mind map. Again, these are not like rules or processes you'll have to follow. According to me, I mean, while my license tells me to tell everybody that there's a set of rules to follow, I think it's a lot more of a personal choice in terms of how you start creating your mind maps. But to make sure mind map is as effective, there are a few basic guidelines that we need to follow, which we'll look through. And then we'll talk about a lot of applications of mind mapping, where all you'll use. So I'll show some examples. Obviously, that's not exhaustive. So I'll try restricting the session to 40 minutes so we can spend some time talking. And of course, post the session also, you're free to reach out to me anytime. I'll be more than happy to talk to you all. All right. So what have you, I've used two mind maps now, right? I use one to talk about myself, introduce myself. I use one to show the agenda. So what is a mind map? Basically, you start off with a central image, which is the key topic that you want to talk about, right? And one fundamental feature of mind map is it's very radial in nature. So it starts at the center and branches out. So it gives you a lot of scope for expanding it. And so there's the central theme, which is the central image or picture that you put in, about which you want to talk. The branches that are coming out, most of these branches will be those key subtopics that you want to talk about. And from that subtopics emerge more branches, which are all linked together. So I'll just, uh, I'll just go to the previous one. Okay, so Akshay says he can only see the first slide. Oh, you're not able to see it, is it? Okay. Okay, so just give me one more minute. Let me try it again. Um, let me try again. I am actually sharing. Okay, let me go back to. Um, are you able to see it now? I've moved 3 slides. So, okay, is anybody able to see it now? Can you see the slide which talks about me? Super. So Sarab has just confirmed he's able to see it. Yeah, that helps, Akshay. I think I'm sharing my entire screen, Akshay. Okay, now you're able to see it. Super. Let's get started. Let's continue. So I'm on slide 2, which shows about my profile, right? So so what have I done here? I've put my picture because I want to introduce myself, talk about myself. I've put my picture, and if I were to do a 1 minute or a 90-second intro of myself, I would want to talk about my uh, education achievements, my experience, my interests, and okay, you're not able to see it on the full screen mode. All right, 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Must admit, this is the first time I'm doing it uh, over a hangout. I've trained about 6,000 people, but that's always been face to face. So experimenting with technology. So sorry for the inconvenience, guys. Are you able to see the full screen now? Can somebody just confirm to me on the group if you're able to see the full screen? Okay, you're still not able to see the full screen. I am projecting it on full screen. Any suggestions how I can get it onto full screen? Because right now I've put it in the presentation view and I'm sharing my entire screen. Okay. I'm stopping sharing for a few seconds. Let me try what Arjun is suggesting. And Okay. Now all fine. You all can see. All right, so I'm continuing now. So yeah, so getting back to what we were talking about as the mind map, you start at the center. So I wanted to give a brief intro about myself. So put me at the center. And what would I talk about in a typical 90-second intro? You'll talk about what you have done, where you've worked, and your interests maybe. So right, and for each of them, I have further expanded it to talk a little more about my education, more about my achievements, corporate experience, etc. And if I go to the next slide, which talks about the agenda, again, the central theme, because I wanted to talk to you all about the agenda, central image, branches of all the related topics, and further sub branches. Okay, so that's typically a mind map, right? So if I were to show a mind map of how we will, how you'll explain simple present tense to a kid, right? You will talk about where will you use basic grammar rules, right? Where will you use, and for what pronouns, what form of the verb will you use, and for verb in given the type of verb it is, if it ends, what does it end with, and then how do you change it if you have to put it into present continuous tense. So this is, so broadly, central image radiating out. Now this is how a mind map will look like. Okay, now I'll talk a little bit about human brain and why this format or this structure is very useful. By now most of you, I'm sure, will be thinking about yeah, I do this, I already do this, so this is something that I naturally do, maybe not in the same format, but that's what I do it. Let's see why this pattern or this format actually helps all of us. I were to, there's certain basic properties of the brain that I want to talk about. So stimulation. Okay, so we all would have heard people telling us, right, try doing one thing differently each day and all that. Because when you do a thing, a set of nerves, right? So if you look at the first picture, there are these highlighted points. There are a set of nerves that get stimulated. So every time you do it, that path gets more and more strengthened, right? So neurons, the nerve ending, the basic nerve cells, their endings, they connect at places which are called synapses nodes, and through that, a lot of messages keep traveling. Now, if you see, you do an activity, a set of neurons get stimulated. If you keep repeating that activity, the same set of neurons get stimulated, right? So it becomes easier for your brain to fire that set of neurons. So typically one activity I do with kids in a classroom when I do mind mapping sessions for them is I tell them to stand and walk. They walk immediately, right? There is no, they're not confused at all. Then I tell them, okay, now you have to walk, but you have to walk a little differently. You're not going to take the walk the typical left, right? Then there's a pause for like 5 seconds, 10 seconds. And then people start jumping. One person starts jumping, another runs, another one walks backward and all that. So why do you think it takes us like 5 to 6 seconds to do that, right? Whenever, right from when you're a kid, your brain is conditioned that you hear the word walk. It's the typical left, right that we do. Now, when somebody tells you that you have to do it a little differently, you're pausing and thinking because your brain now has to fire a newer set of neurons. Then let's talk about association, right? If I were to tell you all that you have 30 seconds with you, and probably you all can try, right? You have 30 seconds, write all users of a brick, right? The typical red brick that we have, write all users of a brick. Let's just take 30 seconds if you all can on your phones, or just think about it, like think of all users of bricks. Yeah. So I'm assuming, and for want of time, I'll not open the line for others to speak. But I'm assuming typically typical thing that happens in a thought process is human thinking way is okay. It's used for construction, for walls. It's used for constructing buildings. It's used to make your kilns and all that. Now, suppose you start talking about properties of a brick, right? A brick is rectangular in shape. It's very heavy, right? And you say it is red in color. And so you write about a few properties of a brick and start expanding it. So, okay, it's heavy. So what I can also use it as a paperweight. It's heavy. I can also use it to break something. I can also use it to throw at someone to break their head, right? So these are things that we come up with. Most of you would have done these. I'm sure all of us would have done this during our MBA, where prof comes and tells us to write about all uses we can think of a pencil, right? So when you start looking at the properties of a pencil, then there's a whole world of possibilities that open up for you, right? That's because your brain naturally associates things with different aspects or different associations which are very, very personal to you. Again, this is something that you can try with a lot of people. Uh, just ask everybody in your family, right, to write everything that comes to their mind when they think of the word love. Right? It's a very simple English word where Webster's dictionary will give you one meaning for the word love, right? But then uh, you will see that first, if people are thinking about family, there'll be a few people who write about, excuse me, father, mother, brother, sister, wife, husbands, siblings, kids, all of that. There'll be a set of people who will write about nature, treks, colors, all of that. So these associations are very, very personal. Connect back with our earlier experience or earlier uh, associations, how we earlier connect these things together that come to your mind. So fundamentally, our brain can remember everything only in the form of associations, which is why when we are studying text, sometimes it just doesn't make sense to us unless we form our own connections. Imagination. Our brain cannot remember anything as a sequence of letters or a sequence of text unless it's an acronym or something, right? Our brain remembers everything. Our brain actually only can imagine everything in a 3D format. We'll see why that happens. So what in imagination, okay, let me try this with you all, right? Aishwarya Rai, write down the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, typical responses I get is the eyes, beautiful, her face, her looks. A lot of people talk about how she looks in the recent movie that they have watched. So they are, something that's really classic, like Jodha Akbar and all of that, right? The looks is what comes to picture. Now, right from when we are hardly 3, right, we are conditioned to read letters, right? So why doesn't our brain recall the moment I said Aishwarya Rai, you all imagine her picture. You will not read it out as Aishwarya. Why don't we do that? Because our brain doesn't have the ability to remember strings of text so efficiently like how it remembers pictures. So when you're reading in the newspaper, you're reading Aishwarya Rai, the first thing your brain forms is your brain just stores that picture. When you're recalling, you recall the picture, and then you recall, and then you associate the letters Aishwarya to her. Think of Ferrari. First thing that comes is a red car. Think of an apple as a fruit. The first thing that comes is red apple, right? Uh, Oh, okay. That's interesting, Puneet. Puneet was thinking about Vivek Oberoi when I said Aishwarya Rai. Okay. And so we tend to associate the image to a string of text, right? That's part of human brain. Unfortunately, we don't exploit. So so I've been working a lot in the education space, especially the children education space, and you realize that it's so unfortunate in India that we are conditioning people to do just black and white. right? It's all text, it's all written in black and white. There is so less use of color. So we are unfortunately conditioning our brain to only work the left part of it, right? And we're not using the full potential of our brains. Look at our textbooks, right? Off late, I think I see a lot of change in the last 2-3 years where books have become a lot more colorful. When we look back at we as school kids, I think our textbooks were pretty much black and white, right? Very few pictures, same font, small font of text and all. Our brain doesn't have the ability to actually receive all of those images and store them. That's the problem. History, right? History is made so drab. History is made so drab because all revolt of 1857, you'll start with Mangal Pandey and he biting a bullet all the way till 1947 as a huge task of remembering dates and all, where history is actually such an interesting subject, right? I tried teaching history in schools, and then it turns out so beautiful if you actually uh, gamify the whole thing, make the whole thing very visual, make the whole thing um, very appealing, and give it to your brain the way your brain naturally remembers. That's what is uh, that's what is the power of brain that we are really not exploiting. So the other most important property of the brain is keywords, right? Our brain can never remember uh, uh, and verbatim, right? You go read a storybook, you will not come back and tell your friend or a spouse about what happened in the book verbatim, right? You'll put it in your own words. For example, let's think about the hare and tortoise story, right? Not the hare and tortoise again or hare and tortoise yet again. The basic hare and tortoise story that we read as kids. There's a hare, there's a tortoise. Both decide to go on a race. The hare is super confident or overconfident that it can win the race, and the tortoise is slowly trailing behind. And the hare then says, "Okay, it's going to take ages for the tortoise to catch up, so let me catch a nap." It goes, sits under the tree, and sleeps off. The tortoise is slowly trudging along, and it reaches the finish line. And moral of the story is slow and steady wins the race. Now, this is not verbatim of what I read as a kid, right? Or this is not verbatim of what any of us would have read. Each of us would have read different versions of the story. It's just that our brain remembers only keywords. When I was narrating the story, it's a sequence of frames that are moving in my head, right? Where I'm visualizing it. So our brain can remember only keywords. What brain actually stores is only the keywords, right? The effective pictures that you see when you're reading it, the mental images that you will form when you're reading it, helps you connect all these keywords. That's so all of these, it's like bite-sized storage in RAM, right? All of these are stored as disconnected pieces. And when your brain is recalling, it builds all these associations, brings back all um, the images, the connections, the keywords, and forms the entire story. This is how our brain works. So I was talking about the 3D images, right? So all of these examples I've been giving you, right? Aishwarya Rai, Ferrari, the hare and tortoise story, or the word love. Um, all of these are, when you're actually thinking 3D. Okay, look at this picture. There's a picture of, some people say they see the picture of the tree and the birds. There's some people who see a gorilla and a lioness facing each other. So our brain actually looks at things in a way that it can internally connect based on your past experiences. So that's why it's so very personal. And when we recall, we are actually looking at everything as a three-dimensional thing, though your way of consuming information is usually two-dimensional. So now look at what, just think back on what we saw when I was talking about the agenda or intro about myself, and what we spoke about the brain properties. So our brain is actually mind mapping naturally, right? Because our brain is using the linear left brain functions, which are keywords and numbers and lists, logic, which is association, and right brain functions, rhythm, color, imagination, daydreaming, right? So if you, I mean, a typical left brain function is like Viru Sahasrabuddhi in Three Idiots, right? Lanky professor, life is a race, and everything is black and white and automatic. Typical right brain is Govinda in the David Dhawan movie, you have yellow trousers, red shirt, and pink shoes, whatnot, right? Always daydreaming about women. So mind map uses both the left brain functions in the form of keywords and associations, right brain functions in terms of lots of color, lots of images, and it stores information. And our brain can never think linearly. You never think of anything sequentially, right? When you think of an event, there is so many aspects of that event that pops up in your head, right? Think about the last wedding you have attended where you have been an integral part of it. Lots of aspects of the wedding actually come to your mind. That is how your brain will remember. Brain will remember everything in a radial way. So now, why is mind mapping useful? Mind mapping works the way the brain exactly works. So when you create a mind map, in all the other steps that I was talking about, right? When you read Aishwarya Rai in a paper, your brain is processing it and storing it as her image. When you're reading a story, your brain is processing the entire text, converting it into images, a sequence of frames, and storing it in your mind. When you put a mind map, it automatically puts everything. So the brain doesn't have to do that extra processing, right? It automatically puts everything in that format, which makes it easier for you to store and recall. Before I move into how to create a mind map, I'll just pause. Any questions? You can send it to me on the group because I still haven't opened up the Q&A here. If I'm trying to open the Q&A, the display is going down. Any questions? You can post it on the group. All right, so I'll move on. If I see any questions on the group, I'll probably pause and take the questions, or I'll move on. So how to mind map? Now you've seen mind maps. We saw the basic properties which we need to take into account, which will help make it easy for our brain to remember things or recall things or process things. We spoke about keywords, associations, imagination, stimulation, and using the left and right brains. So basic rules of basic guidelines, I would say, that you have to follow when you're making a mind map. Start at the center. Typically, center use an image because your image is something that will trigger a lot of associations in your head. So you start at the center, radiate outside, take a paper in typically, I prefer hand-drawn mind maps because it makes it so much more creative. It makes it stimulate your brain a lot more, but you also have a lot of software. We'll talk about that. So start at the center, use page in a landscape format. Reason for landscape is basically to make it easy for you to expand in all directions, right? Your brain thinks radially, so you want to make your mind map radial. And you have lines coming out, which are the basic branches of all the subtopics linked to the main topic. And your lines should all be connected, right? So that your brain forms those mental associations. So when you recall, your brain starts looking at, okay, when I think of a mind map, it'll say, okay, if I think about the mind map about me, right? Or mind map about the agenda, let's say. We'll talk about mind mapping. What is a mind map? Look at some examples. So my brain will first remember, okay, what are the four basic branches when I put up the agenda? Wanted to talk about mind mapping, some bit about the brain studies, some bit about how to use mind map, and then applications of mind map. Okay, in mind mapping, what did I want to talk about? I wanted to talk about the basic what is a mind map, and talk about some examples so that we are all on a common page. Talk some bit about brain studies, where some properties of the brain and how we're going to use it, so that it makes it, so that we know what are those basic things that we need to take care of. How to do a mind map, I thought I'll talk about the basic guidelines that we need to follow to make it more effective. And then application. So that's how your brain will start recalling what you've created. So that's where It's important that you make your main branches and sub branches properly and connect all of them together. Use a lot of images because we said anyway brain doesn't remember text that efficiently as how it remembers images. So use a lot of images, make it colorful. That stimulates a lot of your right brain activity. And you're using keywords and not really long sentences. Use very short phrases, keywords. That makes it easy for your brain to remember because that's your typical left brain function. Have a strong central image because that image really makes your brain think. Remember when I was telling about the brick, right? You draw a big brick in the center and you draw it like a brick, then it triggers a lot of associations in your head. Use a lot of color. Color again stimulates a lot of thinking around that. So this is basically how you mind map. We saw a few mind maps. We'll see a lot more. Right now, these are all places. So practically every place is where you can use mind map and make it more effective. Be it idea generation or brainstorming, your meetings management, creating your business plans, discussing something, planning an event, doing a lot of reflection. To me personally, that helps a lot. And doing a lot of reflection about what you're doing. You're writing, when you take up some writing assignments, it's important you structure the whole thing, right? And obviously your brain is not going to start dictating you the way you want to write it. So you'll say, okay, I need to write 1,000-word essay. How am I going to divide it? What are those basic topics that I will cover? Which will be your basic branches? In each of those branches, what are those key things that you want to talk about? You're preparing yourself for a meeting or a presentation. You're like, okay, I have 20 minutes. What is it that I will cover under each of those branches? So practically everything is where you can use your mind maps. We'll see some of them now. And I'll quickly, next 5 to 7 minutes, I'll quickly walk you through some of the examples and then we'll take up any questions you have. Okay, typically I was talking about history and tomes of work, right? This is a paragraph that I picked up from a standard 5 book on Einstein, right? And the kid was asked to write an essay on Einstein. Now, to me, it was like, okay, how is somebody going to remember this kind of text? So if I were to find out, so this basically talks about he as a child, what did he do? And his school, what happened in his school, those key events, and what did he prefer. Overall, he wasn't a very good student because he was always imagining a lot of things, which was obviously not very appreciated. And what happened on the personal side, what about Einstein on the personal side that a kid should know? And as a scientist, when did he get his Nobel Prize? For what did he get his Nobel Prize? What were the active areas that he worked on? So a draft paragraph can actually be converted into something so exciting, right, for children. And how many times have we all seen all these things in our exams, right? All of us remember compare and contrast two things. It becomes so difficult to really learn it using tables, right? So I just took this example of photosynthesis and respiration. What happens in each of these? If you were to, today, class 2 kids studies about this, right? Today, if you have to explain it to them, this becomes so much more easier. And more serious stuff, if you are planning for an event, all of us would have done it at some point, right? Either at corporates or personal life, where you're supposed to plan for an entire event, starting from who do you invite, how do you plan your resources, the venue, what all should go. So for instance, if you look at this mind map here, about the venue map needs to go into the invitations, right? So there you see a dotted connection between the map and the invitation. So everything that you want to work on, you plan it and you put it here. So there's a basic map that I will use for any event that I'm planning for, right? I could take this blueprint and actually start expanding. Okay, in my invitations post, who should get this? If it's a wedding that I'm planning for, right? Who should the invitations go? What? How many people do I have to send it over email? What all should be there on the invite? My list of attendees, and are the people that I want to personally invite? So any event that you're managing, you can actually use a blueprint like this for yourself and then do it. Yeah, this is something that's very close to my heart, and I keep using this very religiously, and it helps me reflect. So there's a standard template that I use, and if you see at every point in life, right, you want to just step back and reflect to see how you're a sum total of everything, right? Everything that happens in your life. So how are you faring on all of these things? And so what is it meaning? And what is it that you want to do? Are you happy about what the kind of work you're doing? Do you want to change something? Do you want to improve on your financial status? Do you want to travel around the world, or just increase the amount of time that you want to spend with your family? So it helps you. It's a standard thing, and you actually see how you're progressing as a person, right? You create this now, you do it again 6 months later. You know how you're progressing as a person, because whatever comes out of this as the 3 or 4 key things that you want to do now, you actually can see 6 months later, okay, have I improved on any of these attributes because of which I wanted to take those 4 or 5 actions. And for the more serious stuff, when it comes to our work, strategic planning, right? Again, when you're be it corporates or your own ventures, what is it that you want to this helps you actually think and connect a lot of things together. So bottom line, where is it going to help us, right? One, it helps us ensure we are covering all aspects, and you know that if there's some things that you're not addressing, you should be addressing. For example, you're creating a strategic plan, but you're not really talking about the expectations or the results that somebody who's evaluating your performance on the plan is actually going to look at, right? And that will be also a function of what are the strategies that you're doing and the goals that you're setting for different people working on that plan to make sure you're meeting those objectives and results. So you can ensure that there is a lot of consistency in what you're working. So from the goals that you're setting to the meeting the objectives which you're presenting as the key outcomes of your plan, all of those will be in sync. Think of this for a business plan, right? How interconnected are all of these things? If you're putting a business plan together, while you have your linear templates, you will not keep thinking linearly. You know that if one changes, there'll be a lot of other things that are going to change. So this helps you think in that radial fashion and break that boundary. When you're thinking linearly, you're restricting yourself. Your brain automatically, I was speaking about the property of brain called association, right? So when you're thinking linearly, your brain automatically restricts links to all the same things. For instance, if I give you 30 seconds, I say love, the first word that comes to your mind is family. Immediately you'll start writing father, mother, brother, sister, siblings, husband, kids, etc., etc. So your brain, once you think of one particular keyword, you'll work. If you restrict yourself to that in 30 seconds, these are all that you can write. If you actually think, okay, what does the word love mean for me, and put that word down and say, okay, it means I love traveling, I love my family, I love my work, I love my sports that I play. So then the moment you put 4, you know that each of these branches can expand further, right? Brick, typical use is construction. So all aspects of construction is what will come to our head. But if you start putting down properties of a brick, saying, okay, it's a rectangular in shape, it has a proper 3-dimensional shape, so I could use it for drawing or constructing something, simulating something. If I say it's heavy, then I can use the property for it as a paperweight, or something to press leaves, or something that is used to actually extract juice out of something. So the moment you write properties as 4 or 5 branches around brick, right, your brain automatically starts thinking on all these aspects together. So your number of ideas that you come up with, number of options that you come up with will increase further. So this will help it. This will help make the whole idea generation process or creative problem solving process more easy. I think gone are the days when you have your typical problem solving approach, right? Now our work demands us to come up with a lot more newer, effective ways of solving a particular thing. So how is it that you're going to do that is what a mind map will help you. Increase the possibilities of ideas that you come up with. It also helps in a lot of collaboration. Suppose 2 friends are working together on a business plan, right? somebody is working on strategy. And thanks to software, the online mind mapping software actually helps you also collaborate. So two people can work together on a business plan. So you know what, if somebody is working on the strategy and the financial bit and the other is working a lot more on the market and the product, then as and when somebody is changing there, you know what are the things that will change here. So it gives you that collaboration ability also. Yeah, another very useful thing, which I often get a lot of my teams, my executives working on setting up a meeting or driving a meeting. They're all trained on mind mapping. So it makes it easy for us to set a meeting agenda, right? Who are the people? So I'll probably go to the next one first and then come back to this. Who are the people who should be the meeting invite go to? What is the preparation required? Tell them everything upfront. So the person scheduling the meeting actually will make sure all of this is ready. And what are the outcomes that we want to achieve? You list it out. And the structure, so that you're not really moving away, digressing from the core structure. So typically the person who's interested in a meeting, any meeting that I take or I'm a part of, the person who's interested with having minutes of the meeting actually plots out the agenda as the mind map. The first mind map, remember I spoke about the agenda. Plots out the meeting agenda as a mind map. So we typically get into these problems of excessively discussing only one topic and the remaining 3 topics go unanswered, or probably completely digressing and the whole meeting turns out to be something else that we didn't even want to get there, or we didn't plan. So it ends up being very unproductive. So you have the mind map put up, which says, okay, these are the aspects that we want to talk. As and when you're talking about each branch, you can the person who's taking minutes of the meeting actually sub branches it out there. So you know topics are getting covered. The timekeeper for the meeting will make sure that, okay, branch 1 needs to have 20 minutes. We're 15 minutes through the meeting, so we need to end this and come to conclusions in 5 minutes. So that's how they will set the agenda. So it helps make the whole make all of your meetings so much more efficient. So once you create the mind map agenda, you it helps you in limiting scope, right? You're not talking about all irrelevant things, and you're sticking back to the agenda, because the person who's taking minutes will highlight and say, okay, you're talking about something which is not there. We need to get back to focus on what we want to achieve in this meeting. It'll help you actually schedule what is the kind of meetings that you have, right? You really can pull off all your meetings with just stand-up meetings, not more than 15-20 minutes. Take one item on the agenda, figure out the decisions and close that. And it helps you also focus. So you can say that, okay, first 15 minutes in my agenda, I'll say recap of what we discussed in the last meeting, 10 minutes. Then next, okay, these are the 3 things that we need to decide, which should get done in 40 minutes. So which means we'll, let's say, allocate 10 minutes, 10 minutes and 20 minutes for 3 of those agenda items. Last 5 minutes is for concluding and deciding on the action items. Imagine this is what I have on a mind map put together. It makes it so much more easy for the person taking minutes to keep expanding. So at the end of the meeting, I have very clear discussion points, what we discussed and what are the action items. So that's where it immensely helps improving your own productivity. So in a nutshell, what we spoke about today, we spoke about mind mapping, we spoke about the radial structure, helps us in better idea generation, because you're no longer thinking in a linear fashion. The moment you put up all the broad ideas that come as the primary branches, as and when something just pops up in your brain, it becomes easy to branch and sub-branch. We looked at some examples. We spoke about why is mind map effective, because you're using all your brain properties, which are that stimulation, association, imagination, and keywords properties that we spoke about. And we also spoke about using linear left brain and the more colorful right brain functioning and maximizing using both your left and right brain. We also spoke about how our brain minds naturally. So you're actually transforming something instead of your brain processing and converting linear text to a mind map, you're actually feeding your brain in the form of a mind map. how to mind map, we spoke about some basic guidelines, start at the center, expand radially. Your key topics, the key topic that you want to talk about becomes your central image. All the main subtopics become your primary branches. Your branches can be further split when you want to associate things. And we spoke about applications where we practically saw that every place, everything that we do, we can use a mind map. And to me, it's not just a technique or it's not a tool that we have to use. It's just a way of life. Before I end, I think two things. A few of you were asking me about the software. There are tons of software that are available. Most of the mind maps that you see that I have put together are made using iMindMap, which is a Busan license software. You have a lot of free software like MindJet, FreeMind, and many others. MindJet and FreeMind are next to iMindMap. I think MindJet and FreeMind are ones that I find giving you a lot of scope for creativity and playing around with it. Most of these all of these, in fact, are very intuitive, very user-friendly. You can get started immediately. In case any of you are finding it challenging, you all have my number. I'll share my email address with you all. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help. Now I will get back to questions. We still have some time. So, and it was a long monologue. So I will open it for questions. You can post your questions here, or you can also send it on the WhatsApp group. Any feedback, any thoughts on, or anything else that you expected me to cover in this session, but you think we haven't? We can also do that now. I've opened the chat also. Any questions, comments, feedback? Are you all there? Are some of you there? No one there? Thanks so much for your feedback, Gautam, Chetan, Puneet. Nice to hear that, Puneet, that you've been using mind maps for some time. Chetan, you can use, Chetan is asking about mind mapping software. You can use FreeMind is something that's free, you can download. MindJet, there's a software called MindJet. There's something called Mind Manager. What I'm using right now, I mean, whatever you see, the most colorful one I find, and very creative one, is the iMindMap that I'm using. You have a free trial that you can use, a 7-day trial that you can install and use. It's called iMindMap. I can drop I can post it on this group post the session, Chetan. All the software available. You can try using it. Gautam, you said maybe more comments like keeping in horizontal. Oh, okay. I think that's okay. Puneet is trying the brain. I tried using brain, Puneet. But yeah, probably I'll talk to you offline about some things that I find a little challenging in that. So some things which defy the basic properties. So yeah, but probably that's a conversation we can take it offline. Yeah, thanks, Akshay. And Yeah, yeah, the ethical unethical part, I think most of most of the software are free. You have hacks available on torrent. Yeah, but most of them now have become free. So yeah, mind map. So yeah, Dipesh, I find all the mind map apps on my phone very easy. So I think I have lost the habit of taking notes. So I'm in meetings, I'm presenting, I'm in conferences, everywhere. I think I just use my phone or my tab, and that's pretty useful. Oh, Mindly, I haven't tried Gautam, so I think I'll check it out. Yeah, thanks for that. Any questions, or I hope it was useful. If you guys want, I mean, there's nothing in my presentation that's like rocket science, but in case any of you want the presentation, I'll be happy to share. Just send me a text and be happy to share. I'll share with you all my email address. So you need anything. So just as a closing comment, I think one thing that I found. So I'm a design thinking practitioner, and one thing I found very very effective is using a combination of design thinking, which is basically customer centric problem solving approach, and using mind mapping, and then suddenly the whole thing becomes so much more creative, so much more intuitive, and makes the problem solving approach so much more easier. So you might want to try doing both of them together, right? Whenever you're stop taking notes, start using mind maps for drafting all your comments, notes in meetings, and uh, combining both of them, I found it very useful. Okay, Chetan, I'll share the presentation. Yeah. So I have your email address. So I'll probably mail it across to you. It's a bit heavy because it has only images. So I'll send it across to your email address. Thanks, Ashwini. Thanks for your feedback. Dipesh asked, is there a repository of mind maps like all the classroom sessions or various concepts? Not sure if I've understood your question right. So you're asking about the sessions that I did on in classrooms. Um, I've trained about 6,000 odd people. I've done a lot of sessions in schools. And because I feel really sorry that, we're killing a lot of creativity. You give a 3-year-old packet of sketch pens and tell them to write their name, you'll find them using all colors. Suddenly, as we grow up, we think it's very mature to be, just using black and white, and we kill it. So, yeah. Okay, repository of mind maps, you're asking financial, technical concepts. Uh, no, I don't think there's one place where you have, I don't think there's a place where you can, where you have all of that. Um, uh, you can create right now. I'm working on a project where I want to convert some of our textbooks into mind maps. The CBSE and other textbooks to mind maps. Then we've also been worked a little on actually converting some of the books like Resnick and Halliday and other things, H.C. Verma, into a set of mind maps. So yeah, there's no one place. I think a lot of work is going on and creating a lot of these together. Yeah, Gautam. So I think I like that idea. I'll probably upload it and share a link with you all on WhatsApp for the presentation. I'll do that, Gautam. Um, oh, you're saying mail it to JFK. That is your MDI group, right? Um, I'm not part of that group, so I can. I'll share it with you guys, and one of you can send it across there. I'm okay with that. We have 4 more minutes. If there are any questions, I can take them, or we can end it now also. All right, thanks so much. Hope you found the session useful. Thanks for all your feedback, comments, and action items for me. I'll share the presentation, I'll upload it and share the link with you all. And do make mind maps, I'll be more than happy if you will make a couple of mind maps in the next 1 week and share it across with me, right? That'll be like a true testimonial for me for the session. Thanks so much again for attending it, listening to it patiently. And feel free to reach out to me. I will text you all my email address. You all have my number now. So yeah, happy to collaborate on this. Yeah. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody.